It's really easy to blame anything and everything for the misfortunes that happen to us. Letting ego blind you and being entitled is pretty common these days. And I'm not really saying this as someone that's like almighty or like looking down, but I'm saying this as someone who's also guilty of it. There are several moments in my life where I thought the misfortunes that was happening to me, I was so sure that they were caused by everyone else but me. Whether that be my girlfriend at the time, whether that be school, my parents, or like the environment I'm in, my work, for example, recently. And we're quick to dismiss that these aren't our misfortunes because, well, honestly, it hurts, I guess. To think that you're incompetent or to think that you're insufficient, you don't know much, especially if you demand a lot from yourself. I mean, I'm someone who's always been like, if only this happened to me, or maybe if only this didn't happen to me, I would be in a better place now. Completely ignoring the fact that I still have so much control over what happens to my future. Being willingly stuck in the past just to have someone to blame other than me. I've learned this lesson a lot before, but it's something that you really need to reinforce, or else it just comes back to haunt you. The complete truth is, it's you versus you. No one else is dragging you down but you and your lack of accountability to work on the things that you can control. Your habits, your mindset, your discipline, your lifestyle, and even your environment. These are things that you can curate and build to your liking. Now, if you're a teenager or in your 20s and you still live with your parents, like me, controlling your environment could be tricky. I mean, all households are different, right? So I don't think I can really put a blanket statement on that. And honestly, there's no better way for me to explain this than to share with you guys my personal experiences with this matter. So let's take, for the first example, my first relationship that I've ever been in. We were together 2 years, and for the second half of that relationship, I got too comfortable and I just blamed her for every misfortune that was happening in my life. I blamed her for how stressed I was in school. I blamed her for stuff like binge eating and just like being too comfortable, which is fucking crazy to think about. This was 5 years ago, and I was a very, very worse version of myself back then. So I blamed her for everything. I blamed her for how stressed I was, like I said. And when we broke up, I didn't change. I still binge ate. I still, spent too much time on the internet. And the only difference was the time that I spent with her, I spent gaming. And eventually I picked myself back up. But the point is, you can never be too sure. Always look inward first and really question yourself. Could this be my own fault? When I was in school, I blamed school for everything. There was even a time where I blamed my parents for how they raised me. But honestly, maturing, I realized that they just did their best with what they had. And honestly, nothing improved in my life, not until I took responsibility for everything in it. And that's when I started to just pick myself back up. I started very small. I started doing just 5 push-ups a day, just 5. And that's how I built momentum. I started walking. I started sleeping earlier and earlier, which means I woke up earlier and earlier until I got to a point where I was sleeping at 9 or 10 and then waking up at 4 or 5. And I would just be walking, right? I wanted to hit 10k steps every day, and I did, often more. Then I started lifting weights more. And eventually when I got a job, the first thing that I did when I received my first paycheck was go to the gym. And this all started because I took responsibility and started doing the smallest thing that I can do towards building better habits for myself. I understand how hard it is to go against your own ego because honestly, I still fight it every single day. There's always that thing in the back of my head telling me you don't need to work as hard or you don't need to discipline yourself. You don't need to like limit your eating or like stick to your diet or whatever it is, right? I would read a book, follow the teachings of that book for a few days, and then I would forget about it. And after all these things that I've learned from books and, watching YouTube videos or whatever, I just realized that I'm still in the same place in my life. And that's just because I lacked the discipline and the consistency to stick to the plan, because I thought I know better. If you think you know everything, you'll learn nothing. And like I said again, dude, I'm not saying this as someone looking down on you, like someone that's immune to it. I had to tattoo ego is the enemy. I don't know if you can see that. Just because I know that, if I don't discipline myself, if I don't go against, my own demons, I will never get near the place that I want to be in my life. And if you think about it, it makes sense, right? If you're in your teens and your 20s, you don't really know much about life yet. So who are you to ignore the teachings of those who actually lived? Books like Atomic Habits, Way of the Superior Man, How to Win Friends and Influence People, these very popular self-improvement books, they're popular because people saw value from them and probably changed some of these people's lives. And some of these books took years and years to develop of research and experience. And you think you know better and that your way is better. Knowing the path that you need to take towards the life that you want is not enough. You actually have to walk it. And that takes humility. Because like it or not, there's no shortcuts in life. All you can do is chip away at it every single day. 1% better every day. Took out Atomic Habits and Kaizen. And before you know it, you're living the life you've always wanted to live. But before that, you need to stay a student.